Welcome to Career Pro Tips by Life in the Green Room. Career Pro Tips is a weekly video series where each episode provides you a tip, tactic, or strategy that you can apply today to start taking ownership of your career. At Life in the Green Room, we are all about helping busy professionals who want more from their career. We provide action-oriented, tool-based plans that allow you to start to navigate your career. My name is Heather Green McGlynn, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing at a Fortune 500 company. I've used these tools, and I've seen my team and my peers use them too. I know that they can help you take ownership of your career. So let's dive into today's episode 17, where we're going to talk about advocating. How do I advocate for myself? This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because honestly, it is a challenge for me still today. So I think this could resonate with a lot of you. I wish that my work just spoke for itself. My performance, my consistency, the results I deliver to the company, people would just look at them and know, hey, she is a rock star and she can help me with my next issue or challenge or opportunity. But the reality is it doesn't work that way. I wish that it did because it would make this whole topic obsolete, but it truly doesn't happen. Maybe somebody in your closest inner circle really understands your skills and your talents and your impact, but even they may not because, to be honest, everybody's busy. They're focusing on their own issues. So if you cannot raise up and make a few statements and advocate for yourself, you could be missing out on opportunities. So I want to dive in today. How do I advocate for myself? I'm going to focus on where do I start and where do I advocate for myself. So let's talk about where do I start. If you have not been in the practice of advocating for yourself, this topic may feel daunting or uncomfortable. And so I have a tip or strategy that you can start with right away. I want you to pick 2 or 3 topics that you can advocate for yourself. So I want you to select those topics and then prepare what you want to say. So I want you to pick 2 or 3 areas that in the recent past, not 5 years ago, you've done something specific and measurable for your company. So get those in your head, and then for each item, write 2 to 3 sentences that articulate quickly, concisely, and to the point what you have done and the impact that you have had. Now, if it's very difficult for you and you start off with saying, but it's a whole big story, and for them to really understand the work I did, I have to give them all the backstory, that's usually not how it works. Usually you've got a few minutes at the most to advocate for yourself. So you need to get to those specific points. Getting concise is actually a skill that you can develop and work on. So if you don't know what to do and you're struggling with the 2 sentences, we're building up for this. So take a minute, write an entire page, write an entire paragraph, write down every single thing that happened for you, what your impact was, and how you drove that result. Once you have that done, read through it and you start whittling it down. Okay, what are the key points in each paragraph? What is the key things in each sentences? And you keep going through that exercise again and again until you've got 2 to 3 sentences or 2 to 3 bullet points that you can very succinctly and clearly say how you have driven results. And do that for each of your points. So when you're thinking about, okay, where do I start? That's the first thing I want you to do. The second piece I've heard from people is, how do I get ready for this? And the number one answer is practice, practice, practice. I want you to practice this out loud, potentially practice it in front of a mirror, practice it on a friend. It's really important for a couple of reasons. Having 3 bullet points that you've denoted is great. It's a good starting point, but saying the words out loud is when you're going to realize, hey, this phrase doesn't work. I get tongue-tied. I can't actually say that sentence because it's English, it's correct from an English standard, but it's not how I talk. So how do I get that out there in a way that conveys my point? That's why I want you to practice. The second reason I want you to practice is a concern that I hear a lot is, how do I say this without taking all the credit, without sounding braggy, without feeling I'm jumping into a sales pitch all the time? Again, practicing with words that you're going to feel comfortable with is a great way to start this process. While you're doing that, think about how you would have an actual conversation. And if it sounds braggy, figure out another way to do it. If it sounds like a sales pitch, how do you at least make it interesting for them? Maybe you want to share an example where you saved the company a lot of money. It's a great example. You can phrase that in a way to say, I did this, which resulted in this kind of savings, but I think a lot of companies are struggling with this. Is this something you guys have thought about? That could be a way for you to frame it that doesn't sound as sales pitchy and feels a little bit more natural to you. So once we go from there, I want you to start thinking about how you're going to advocate. I want you to look for opportunities everywhere. These are a few minutes of time. So it's like you're riding in the elevator with somebody, you're walking out to the parking lot, you're at a networking event. It's a great opportunity. Plan to advocate yourself when you go to those types of things. And that is where you're going to get the practice and to do it on a regular basis. I think that people build it up to be too much, and the reality is if you start doing it, you get some under your belt, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable with them. You're going to feel a lot more comfortable kind of throwing it out there and being able to talk about something that you've done and lead it to a conversation. If the person really engages, you can go back and go into your full-blown story that you had before. That's great. You have all that background and detail. And if they don't, you can move on to whatever's the next natural piece of the conversation, but you've at least kind of thrown that out there and they know where your skills and your strengths are and what you have to offer. So when we talk about how do I advocate, look for the opportunities. And if you have nothing on your calendar and you think there's zero chance, then schedule something. Go to an association, find a networking event. They're all over the place. You can find an area to use this skill and to build it up. My last bonus tip is to please do this on a regular basis. Don't wait until you're desperate and you're looking for a new job or you need a new opportunity, because then it feels very forced and rushed. And the beauty of advocating for yourself is it's something you do a little bit over time, very naturally, and something you did today might pay off in 6 months or a year from now. And so that's why you want to be working on it on a regular, consistent basis. We've talked about how to get started and how to advocate for yourself. And if this is feeling overwhelming and you don't know where to start, take a deep breath and just choose one thing. What is one result you have that you could really stand up and be proud of and say, this is what I did and this is what I accomplished? Get those 2 sentences down, practice them, and set yourself a goal that say, I will use this on somebody in the next 2 weeks, whether it's a boss or a colleague or anybody. And if you don't have that opportunity, like I mentioned, go schedule it. Go find something. You can do this. It's very simple. Once you find that you've done it once in the first 2 weeks, you can build from there. Get your goals to be bigger and bigger. I know people, I'm not there yet, but I know people that are like, oh my gosh, it's a networking event. How many times can I advocate for myself? That's amazing. I hope you all get there too. But just start the momentum, start building, start doing it now instead of waiting until you really are looking for a change or something different. I cannot wait to hear how you advocate for yourself and where you've had success for this. Please leave me a comment below. If you love getting a weekly career pro tip, subscribe here. Until next week, here's to owning your career journey.